All right, hello class. This video is going to be about topic 7.6. So we're solidly into unit 7 in the AP curriculum. We're going to talk today about AP topic 7.6, which coincides with the current material that you're going to be reading, if not already, very soon. Topic 7.6 is titled World War One, the Home Front. Now, during the period of World War One, we're going to discuss what was happening in the United States at home, culturally, economically, in terms of migration and politics specifically. So during this time, official restrictions on freedom of speech had grown. It was illegal, in fact, to speak out against the draft, against the war itself. That was considered you were possibly an enemy of state in some cases and could be arrested for such things, which and it led directly to what was known as the Red Scare, Red being associated with communism, which was on the rise during this time period in most of Asia and Far East Asia, which led to also attacks on labor activism, which was seen as loosely tied at the time, correctly or incorrectly, to communist movements in Asia. Also, the uh, negative viewpoints towards immigrants was also very common and prominent during this time period, leading to legislation which would ban immigration, mostly from Southern Europe, Mediterranean nations, more so than others. Um, so one of the crackdowns on the suspected communists and infiltrators into the government was known as the Palmer raids. This was had begun and was instituted by Attorney General Palmer, A. Mitchell Palmer, under the President Wilson administration, in order to crack down on what they perceived as essentially a spy threat by communist, the rise of Soviet Union and other threats in that part of the world, infiltrating United States possibly. Um, so yeah, quotas were instituted from to ban some, like I said, most immigration from Southern Europe at the time because they saw the country as straying too far away from their Anglo-Saxon Protestant roots and picking up more South European, North African, and Catholic immigrants, which they saw as a possible threat. So that the ban on those immigrants was on the rise during this time period. Also, there was an increased demand for war production, meaning weapons of war, planes, tanks, ships, that sort of thing, which led to a migration to the industrial city centers in the north, from the south to the north. We have a gradually decreasing agricultural dependence, a gradual increasing of urban center industrial dependence, which caused people to migrate in terms of for job search. Essentially, the migration that happened in the 1880s till about this period from Europe due to famine, jobs to the United States. Now it's starting to happen internally. So you've got internal migration uh, inside the country from south to north mainly. So there's a migration towards the urban centers during this time. It became known as the Great Migration after the end of World War II. Soldiers come home, the manufacturing starts to die down somewhat, the jobs start to settle out, economy's shifting. They're going to go where the jobs are. So there was a large migration from the south to the north. Also, there was a large migration because there was still a very prominent discrimination towards African Americans, not just immigrants from Southern Europe and other places, in Asia specifically, but African Americans as well, still lingering from the aftermath of the Civil War and Reconstruction, which is still less than a lifetime from this time period. So, Civil War Reconstruction wrapping up around the 1880s, then you go into the Gilded Age, Progressive Era, which we're in now. You still have persons who are in their 50s and 60s who were born at the end of, I'm not sure where the video cut off there, sorry about that. You still have people who are alive who were born during the end of Reconstruction. So that memory of half slave, half free US is still fresh in the minds of many people, giving rise to black codes, Jim Crow legislation, separate but equal legislation, as we talked about in Plessy v. Ferguson with the last test. Um, so that is another thing besides economics, culture, race discrimination in the South is pushing a lot of the Southern African Americans to migrate to the North in search of not only jobs, but less of discriminatory regions and cities. However, that did not go as planned completely. 1919, after the war had ended, when a lot of African American soldiers were coming home and there was this migration from the South to the North, it spurred what became known as essentially race riots around the country, and mostly in the northern centers. The largest one was actually in Chicago around this time period. There was also one in 1919 in Arkansas, and also notably was the 1921 Tulsa race massacre that took place in this time period. And you're going to have some readings that I'm going to attach, short readings, on each of these incidents separately in Google Stream.